Hello, my name is Simon Mathers. I'm head of boys PE and the GCSE PE at Kingsley School. I'm going to talk to you about GCSE Sports Science, which is actually part of the Cambridge National Sports Science Award. It's a GCSE equivalent. And it's an interesting course. It's based around 4 units. They then completed over a 2-year course. There's a mixture of practical and written work, which is good. Means that we're not just stuck in a classroom all the time. We can apply what we learn in the classroom to the practical work we do, or we can flip it around with the practical we work supports and helps the learning of the theory that we are doing. The assessment is done using a 1-hour written exam, which happens just after Christmas for Year 11. If you do well enough in that exam, it means you won't have one in the summer, so that's one less exam to worry about. If you don't do so well in that exam, you do get the chance to retake it in the summer, so that's good news too. There's 3 units, and when these are finished, I mark them. I can give you some feedback. You can actually improve that bit of work, and then we can send it off to be moderated at the end of the process. So what are the 4 units? Well, the first one, this is the examined one. Really enjoy this one, the sports injuries. So students learn how to prepare participants to take part in physical activity so that they can minimise the risk of injuries. They also learn how to respond to common sporting injuries and how to recognise the symptoms of some common medical conditions. So what does that all mean? Well, so say Jose Mourinho, what is it about him as a coach that may reduce the chance of injury or maybe promote them? External factors, perhaps the environment, lightning strikes. How's that going to affect the chance of injuries? What type of injuries might there be? The pitch, how important is the pitch? The type of sport you play, so contact sport, rugby, what injuries will you get from that? Are they different to maybe a non-contact sport like gymnastics? And different stages in your life, you are more likely to play different types of sports, and you'll have more likely different injuries depending on what you're playing. Aggression, how does that have a part in sport? It's a necessary part of sport, but if it goes too far, this can happen. We also look at anxiety. How does that affect your performance and the chances of injury? And then, how are you motivated as a performer? Extrinsically, by external reward, or intrinsically, it's something inside you that drives you to play. But how does that affect your chance of injury? Other areas we look at, so a warm-up, why is that so important to us? And then the cool down. Why? But, on a sort of physiological level and a mental level, psychological level, why are these things important? Then we look at the sort of nitty-gritty. What sorts of injuries might there be? So fractures. What are the symptoms of a fracture? How did it happen? And also a little bit of first aid about how to treat those things. And then concussion is a hot topic. How does this come about? What are the symptoms of it? Are there long-term issues with it? And then those are what we call acute injuries. And we also look at chronic injuries. Chronic, they take a long time to appear, or a longer time to appear. And, golfer's elbow, tennis elbow, we look at how that comes about, how to treat it. But then we also have things like asthma. Can you still play sport with asthma? Well, yes, of course you can, but you need to know how to manage it. Diabetes, epilepsy, all of these different things we look at. So the second unit, this is a written unit. Okay, so applying the principles of training. So students develop knowledge and understanding of the principles of training, how to keep performers in peak physical condition. They apply practical skills in fitness testing and in designing bespoke training programs to suit individual requirements. So, methods of training. What methods of training are there? We'll look at some in the classroom, but then we'll go out, we'll actually take part and do these. And then we write up about them. So HIIT training, interval training, continuous training, fartlek training, circuit training. So we actually look at these different areas. And then we look at components of fitness. What's this gymnast need that might be different to a long distance runner? What's the components of fitness, muscular strength, endurance that they need for their sports? You know, the swimmer, very different sort of components of fitness potentially, or is it similar to the marathon runner? So we look at these, we compare these different areas, and then how to train for them. We'll also then get into the practical element again, doing fitness testing. Pupils enjoy this. This is somebody from this year, year 11, doing the Illinois agility run, and they do muscular strength tests, muscular endurance tests, and balance tests, sprint tests, and they all feed into that bespoke training program. So each of these students has come up with their own program to improve their performance in an area that they want to improve. It might be their cardiovascular fitness or their muscular strength or skills within their sport. So they adapt their training to meet their needs. And it's really interesting to see what different students come up with and write up afterwards. So then sports nutrition, our third unit, again, a written unit. Students explore the role that diet plays in different sports and activities and the importance of a healthy, balanced diet. It includes essential nutrients in correct quantities. They use the knowledge that they gain to produce an appropriate, effective diet plan for the performer. So the performer, then, we learn about, obviously, these different food groups and how they're important for them. You know, how does dairy or fat lead into you as a sports performer? Why is it important? What's the upsides? What's the downsides? Carbohydrate, fuel for the body. Simple carbohydrates, or is it better to have complex carbohydrate? We've got protein, you know, there for muscles for the body. What is it about animal fat that is good? Is that the only place we can get protein from? We start looking at, you know, vegetable options for that, and compare those two different ways of getting the same, you know, on the basis protein, the same thing. We look at fruit, vegetables, vitamins. How do they affect you as a performer? And then finally, you have to plan 2 weeks of basically a menu, if you like, your diet, your nutrition. You have to justify why you are looking at having, say, an increased amount of protein in your diet. You might be wanting to put on muscle mass. You might be a longer distance runner, so you need more carbohydrate in your diet. How much carbohydrate do you actually need? Well, that all comes down to how heavy you are, how much energy you're expending in the day. And so pupils have to work that out. It's a very, very good process that they go through, get some interesting diet plans. And then the final one, technology in sport. Students consider how various technologies are used in sport to enhance performance. And the experience of sport, both for performers and for spectators, as well as the career opportunities that the use of technology presents. They also explore arguments both for and against the increasing use of technology in sport. So the old days, you would have used a stopwatch. How fast is that person going? Now they're using a laser just to get the accuracy even better. In the past, this person would have been able to run again, you know, lost their legs, however, but they've got carbon fiber blades so that they can run and compete and look at the stadium behind that they're in. Amazing. You've also got concussion. We talked about that earlier. So there's crossovers between all the units, but concussion, they're using little movement sensors within the helmet that actually provide medical staff with information about how many hits, how hard the hits, and is it time that that athlete has a rest. So a really amazing protective thing for a modern day athlete. Also about going faster. How can we get faster as athletes? You know, we can do it legally. And then we had the sort of controversy over the carbon fiber bikes. We've had controversy over different suits, you know, making people faster, that were then banned. But then we've got technology like Hawkeye, where giving the simple in or out, it does seem simple, doesn't it? Is it in, is it out? Which then developed into sort of VAR and the controversy in football now. You know, how much is VAR helping us with offside, for example? the spectator's view in football is very different to, say, the spectator's view in rugby, where they enjoy the use of technology. In football, it seems to slow the game down. So we're always having these interesting arguments over and debates about the use of technology. Think about in the old days, you know, you might listen to the radio to hear the score of your favourite football team. Now, your friend could be at a massive stadium. Look at that amazing stadium where everyone's got a brilliant viewpoint, but they can video it. They can live video it for you, so you can watch it. The camera angles, the different camera angles that they have now, and that all links back into, you know, the refereeing, for example, in rugby. So technology in sport, amazing area, and this really gives pupils a chance to sort of go off and find an interest of their own. So they might enjoy tennis. How's a carbon fibre racket developed, and what changes has that made to the sport, for example? So, quick recap. Cambridge National Sports Award, equivalent to a GCSE, is a mixture of really interesting subjects. I think they all give you a lifelong sort of principles for health, you know, what you eat, how to train, different points in your life, and the health benefits of those. There's an exam taken early, and then 3 units that can be added to as you gain a bit more confidence and you develop your skills, your writing skills over time. And then finally, it does link brilliantly with the A-level courses we do. It's given them a real good basis to then go on and do an A-level equivalent in B-Tech and C-Tech, the outdoor education and the sports awards. Okay, so hopefully see you in year 10, and thanks for listening.